It was like a bunch of frat boys defending the frat house president and lobbying these names, calling him a Democrat and all the other things. The thing about the theatrical, feminine theatrical boy. It's embarrassing that White House spokespeople are behaving this way to defend the president.
I really disagree with you, Stacey, but I think you're wrong on this one.
MAGA is once again melting down over a comment from Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff. And in this clip, Keith Boykin pushes back hard against the outrage coming from Trump's supporters. The debate centers around Ossoff's comments about Trump's aide, Natalie Harp, with one panelist arguing that Ossoff went too far, while Boykin argues that the outrage is completely hypocritical given Trump's own history of attacking people. Now, if you're new here, I'm Bradley Hostin, and this is The Bradley Hostin Show. If you enjoy honest political commentary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
A rising Democratic star is getting under MAGA's skin after picking a fight with President Trump over one of his closest aides.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace.
That was Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff name-dropping Trump's executive assistant, Natalie Harp. Harp has emerged as one of President Trump's most trusted personal aides who frequently travels with him. And when Trump secretly switched planes following a security threat last month, Harp was one of just a handful of aides who joined him. And as you can imagine, the White House lost it over Ossoff's comments. Trump's communications director called the senator the biggest cuck loser in politics. A White House spokesperson cast Ossoff as a cringeworthy feminine theater kid, and even Trump today weighed in.
Yesterday, Jon Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response to Jon Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike? No, I would much rather do other things. We're building a great facility here. We're fixing a White House that hasn't been taken care of.
Stacey Schneider is with us at the table now. Now, Stacey, just a little primer for our audience. If you don't know who Natalie Harp is, she is what you call a personal aide. You follow the president around. You hand him. He needs a pen. You hand him a pen. He needs some tweets or something to put on social media. You hand him that. Here's what Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan wrote about her role. They say Harp wrote Trump adoring letters that she left in his personal spaces, including one that read, "You are all that matters to me." And Trump has taken to telling his staff that Natalie was the only one who loved him as much as his wife and kids. All of you will go off and make money, he would say. She'll never leave me. So that's the context. If you don't know, what do you make of Ossoff's comments and the reaction to it?
I think Ossoff went too far, actually. Trump has been known from the beginning of time, including his television show, his business at the Trump Organization, his involvement in beauty pageants. He always surrounds himself with attractive young women. And for somebody running for office to make that an issue amongst all the other problems, to point that at, I can think of a lot more complaints about Trump than him traveling with a young aide. So I think it was sort of below the bar. But then again, the White House's reaction was kind of despicable. It was like a bunch of frat boys defending the frat house president and lobbying these names, calling him a Democrat and all the other things. The thing about the theatrical, feminine theatrical boy. It's embarrassing that White House spokespeople are behaving this way to defend the president.
I really disagree with you, Stacey, but I think you're wrong on this one. He mentioned one word, the first name of Natalie Harp. He didn't even mention her last name. And he didn't talk about her directly. He mentioned the fact that Trump would prefer to travel on his plane with her than to do the job he's supposed to do as president. That's a factual statement. It's not below the belt, like Trump's repeated attacks on Donald Trump. What the problem that Jon Ossoff is pointing out here is that Donald Trump is obsessed about the White House ballroom. He's obsessed about the reflecting pool. He's obsessed about the gold ornaments in the Oval Office. He's not obsessed about the American people paying $4 a gallon for gasoline. He's not obsessed about rising inflation. He's not doing anything about health care and job jobs, the things that he's supposed to be taking care of. And that's the problem. And I think that's what John Ossoff is pointing out here. And I think he's exactly right to make that attack.
I think you have
Democrats
to
need to stop
agree.
being defensive about this stuff and start fighting back, and fighting back hard, because Trump doesn't play pussyfoot. He plays hard. And we need to fight back
but
as
it's
well.
a lame fight. Wouldn't you agree?
It's not
that throwing
lame.
that, it
It's
was
not
very
lame at all.
strategic
Donald
that
Trump
he threw that name in. Look, there are a million things you could complain about.
And he
that Donald
did.
Trump is
He
doing,
talked about all
but
those
to throw
things.
in the young woman,
But don't take the bait,
who's his
Stacey.
aide.
Don't take the bait. Just because he mentioned
like
Natalie's
Trump
name
took the
once.
bait. I
Just
feel-
because, well, Trump did
Trump
take the
took the
bait.
bait, and that's their fault
John
over
Ossoff
there.
is doing exactly what Democrats need to do. They need to fight back hard and stop playing around, stop being defensive.
Well, that I
I
would
mean,
agree with
Trump
you.
made her an issue when he took her instead of Carolyn Levitt, who clearly has a more important job. So if anybody should be complaining about why she's a national figure, it's because of Trump's action, taking her to that decoy plane. And Natalie Harp isn't just maybe his human printer, as they also call her. Evidently, she's kind of a gateway to a lot of information. And if you want information passed to him, so perhaps he stops liking somebody, evidently she's the gatekeeper. So that makes her part of the conversation in a real way.
So let me play. This is Ossoff talking about his comments tonight and explaining a little bit more about what he meant. Listen.
Well, I've heard this particular aide referred to as his security blanket. And I think we could say that about any number of the senior aides in the White House. They're not telling him what he needs to hear. They're telling him what he wants to hear. And the president, surrounded by enablers in the West Wing, is playing golf, is trading stock, and is decorating his ballroom. It's a disgrace, all while American families in Georgia and across the country pay more for just about everything as a direct result of his failed economic policy and his failed foreign policy.
So he says what he was referring to was Harp's role as somebody who actually is there to kind of feed Trump things that he likes to hear, whether it's true or not. I also wonder, Bill, why the freak out? I mean, I've rarely seen the White House in this kind of form. And I can imagine that some of it has to do with this is actually somebody who's legitimately very important to the president, which kind of speaks to what John Ossoff's saying.
The follow-up there from the senator should have been an apology, because I agree. It was below the belt. The reason for the freak out,
You work for Donald Trump.
The reason,
you work for Donald Trump.
The
How
reason,
dare you say anything is below the belt when you work for Donald Trump in the White House?
The reason for the freak out by the Trump administration is because it was below the belt. Staff was
What about all the things Donald Trump said that are below the belt?
John Ossoff
repeatedly goes below the belt.
John Ossoff ran for office. Donald Trump ran for office. Criticize them, put a spotlight on them, talk about them.
He just
she's
mentioned
a
her
government
first name.
She is a government staffer.
She was on the plane with them when they left Turkey. He just mentioned it.
She's a private person.
If you're going to crime, she's not a private person. If you want
Her name's never been on a ballot.
If you want
She
to be
didn't invite
traveling
us.
to the
You're
president,
describing her as a private person. She does work for the government.
A lot of people work for the government.
What about Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss? They're
amount of
private people.
access
Donald
she
Trump
has.
attacked those election workers in Fulton County. They had no business being involved in his scandal.
What are we talking
But
about?
Donald Trump brought them
wanna
up.
talk about 2020?
I want to talk about the fact that Donald Trump repeatedly for 30 years and definitely for the past 10 years has attacked every single person. You work for him in the White House while he attacked people with attacks that are far lower than what John Ossoff said. All he did was mention one person's name. And so for you to come here and have this fake outrage about John Ossoff, it's outrageous.
John Ossoff is better than this. He's
You
super
are better than
formidable.
SIC
that's kind of
because
my
you
point
have no
also.
credibility.
No, my point
But
also is
isn't,
like why.
Speaking of
go
taking
ahead.
the bait,
Yeah.
okay? Speaking of taking the bait, John Ossoff is running for Senate, okay, people. He is leading, it seems, in the latest poll that we use by a lot. So he's kind of cruising, I guess, in the Senate race. And if I were a John Ossoff and I wanted to get a lot of attention, I would say something like this that would get me a lot of attention and get the White House to be talking about me for like 48 hours. So who's taking the bait here?
There's clearly the president took the bait. When he was asked the question in the Oval Office, what do you think? The most powerful thing he could have said is, I don't think of John Ossoff. That's the most powerful thing he could say. It's like, he's meaningless to me. As you said, it's not even a close race, so it's not like this neck and neck thing. The most powerful thing he could have said is, I don't think of him, and just moved on. But instead, the Pee Wee Herman thing I thought was pretty good. Just because he's a handsome guy, but he does lean towards Pee Wee. But look, I mean, this saddens me. You know, there's a clip on Facebook showing Barack Obama and John McCain and how when people ragged on each other, but they both came to each other's defense. And all the way down the road, like those days are gone, unfortunately.
Thanks to Donald Trump.
So this is not just
Well,
it's
he's
not
largely
just
responsible
Donald
for it, though.
Yes, anyone who says he's not
Right,
have their
exactly.
head in the sand. But it's a shame that look. Here's where I disagree with you on. Yes, he's obsessed about the ballroom, which he won't even use. It'll be his legacy. But you can't say he's not obsessed about Iran. You can't say affordability is just because of the war, because my mayor, Mamdani, ran on affordability before there was any war. So the affordability issue has been going on
I
way
didn't
before
say it was
Iran.
just about the war. I said the fact
Okay.
that he's not focused on the issues the American people are concerned about.
I
he cares more about the ballroom than he does about inflation or gas prices.
He can't even
He
stay up for
definitely
his
cares
meetings.
about the gas prices. You know he cares about it. You know he's focused on the
What
gas
is he doing
prices.
about it? He's creating a worse crisis with it.
And also, he says the gas prices are fine. So that's actually not true, that
Well,
he's focused on the gas prices.
yes,
He
that's-
sleeps through literally every meeting. We see it in real time.
This is after
And
Joe
then
Biden.
Anything he doesn't
This is
like
after Joe Biden.
is
I never
fake
beat up.
news.
I never beat up on Joe Biden.
Okay,
You
Joe
can't say that
Biden was
about
not
Trump
sleeping
after-
in front of the public
I know,
in
but
every
we
meeting.
heard more from Donald Trump
I don't
today
know why
than Joe
you're
Biden in
covering
the
for
whole year.
somebody
I'm
who's
not
not even
covering.
pretending.
I'm
He's not
not
pretending
covering.
to be awake in those
I guess
meetings.
here's the thing. Trump was asked a question about these Ossoff comments, and then he answered by saying, yeah, I actually do want to build the ballroom. I mean, he didn't really beat the allegations that that's where his head is at in this moment. And, I mean, he is, I guess, as recently as Friday said, he's not going to apologize for the high gas prices. I mean, this is...
Okay, but you got to, hold on. You got to flesh that out. I'm not apologizing for the gas prices because that's the cost of making America safe by taking nuclear weapons away from Iran.
Which he hasn't done.
That's the
Which he hasn't
okay,
done.
but he's trying.
And he ain't doing it.
Okay, but
It
he's
ain't
trying.
working. It's not working.
Okay, it's not working.
I think
I
that
would
line
think,
is
I would
way
think that
too
our
late.
troops who were there,
So-
I wouldn't offend them by saying they're not trying.
Well, he's offending them by not helping people in USS
I mean, let's talk about USS
Stacey, let me
Lincoln.
ask you this, because today the Supreme Court basically said, hey, Mr. Trump, you've got to actually pay that settlement to E. Jean Carroll. It just so happens that these things are happening right at the same moment. I mean, Trump himself has this long history of allegations against him by women. He is on tape saying, you know, you can just grab them by their, you know what, you don't even have to ask. Is it legit for all these MAGA types to be clutching their pearls over John Ossoff saying he wants to be on a plane with Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, MAGA can be ridiculous about getting involved in, so a Democratic senator running for re-election makes a comment about Trump's personal life while he's in office, and then they go wild and they have all these things to tweet about and comment about. But do the Democrats really want to go there with that comment? I mean, that was my point from the beginning.
Do they?
Is it his personal life?
Well,
Do they need to?
I mean, do they?
Do they need to?
Do they need to? I mean, John Ossoff has been getting attention, it seems to me, for if you're a Democrat, for all the right things. He's talking about affordability. He's talking about corruption. Does it really help them to have even this conversation kind of overshadowing that?
I don't think it overshadows because I think he points out the contrast, that Trump is more focused on his personal life than he is on the public's life. He's more focused on what satisfies him and brings him comfort than what brings comfort to the American people. He's more focused on his $400 million jet than he is on helping the American people have their lives taken care of. And I think those are the things that John Ossoff is pointing out in his statement. I don't
say
think
about Natalie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Natalie Harp was on the plane with Donald Trump.
Okay, also, but
the fact that he mentioned that and Donald Trump got so obsessed about it shows exactly why John Ossoff was
By the way,
it shows exactly why
Caroline Leavitt was not on any of either of the planes.
Exactly.
She was not on the first plane or the second plane.
But Natalie Harp was.
So it's not his personal life. I mean, she works for him. So are we talking? I mean, did this? Bill Clinton literally got impeached over something like
there's
this.
an assumption.
All of a sudden,
Well, that's very different, though.
How is it
This is
different?
not, but this is, there's no something like this.
Well,
Yeah.
you're
right?
saying
Like,
that this is about his
that's
personal
the
life.
innuendo.
Exactly.
that
I'm not
I think
saying
people
that.
are objecting
I'm
to.
saying it's really
You just said
inconsequential.
it was his personal life.
I
Well,
said,
it's what he's
I
doing
said the
with
word
the-
personal
with-
life, but
with
I
the-
didn't mean it in
I
that
know that
context.
personal life.
I didn't mean it in that
What
context.
She
he's
works
doing,
for him.
whether he has an aide with him all the time and she happens to be
But
pretty
she
or she
works
happens
for
to
him.
be young.
She's
I'm
on
just
the
saying,
table. She's
but
with the
we're kind
president.
of agreeing, which I'm saying the Democrats have too much going for them to have to go there. And I think he did it strategically, Ossoff, to get the attention. But he has the attention on the other issues. And when the Democrats start acting like the Republicans or acting like the Trump...
It's one word. It's one word. I don't understand the big
But it was
freak out.
strategic.
It's one word.
It was strategic. And look at the big deal. We've been talking
He
about
was
it for
one
10
word,
minutes.
and we're obsessed about it.
We'll leave it there, everyone.
So for me, Keith Boykin was absolutely right about one thing. The outrage over this was completely disproportionate. John Ossoff mentioned Natalie Harp's name and argued that Donald Trump appears more focused on his personal comfort and the White House ballroom than on issues like affordability, health care, and jobs. You can think the wording was unnecessary, but that's completely different from pretending he made some outrageous attack on her. And what really bothered me was the double standard. Donald Trump has spent years insulting journalists, politicians, women, and private citizens, often in far more personal and vicious ways. Yet the moment a Democrat says something relatively mild about somebody connected to Trump, suddenly we're told that politics has gone too far. That's exactly why I agree with Keith when he says Democrats need to stop constantly playing defense. If Republicans are willing to fight aggressively for Donald Trump, Democrats shouldn't be expected to apologize every time they fight back. And honestly, the White House reaction probably gave Ossoff exactly what he wanted: attention. Trump could have ignored the comment, but instead the administration spent days talking about it. So if you're going to criticize Ossoff, criticize the substance of what he said. But don't pretend this is some unprecedented attack while ignoring everything Donald Trump has said about other people. That's the hypocrisy that really stood out to me. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think John Ossoff went too far? Or was the MAGA outrage completely overblown? As usual, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news commentaries. I'll see you guys in the next